Fantasticamania is underway, and we saw the first show, a broadcast on NJPW World from Korakuen Hall today. It's the last 2 days of that tour, and it was a very fun show. And we're going to be talking about all of that. We're also going to preview night 2 of the Korakuen Hall version of Fantasticamania. We'll look ahead to the anniversary show. We are coming up on a very busy part of the New Japan calendar. So lots of good things ahead of us. So with Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm Steven Conway. With me is Jeremy Finestone. We're contributors to the Fight Game Media Network. And Jeremy, those days we had, weeks ahead of one, maybe 2 shows a week, as we come in to talk, that's about to all come to a crashing halt, isn't it? I keep looking at this schedule just thinking, oh, we got a lot of wrestling to watch. But the good news is the only show we had this week was today's Fantasticamania show, which I had a blast watching. I thought this was a really fun night of wrestling from Korakuen Hall today.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. The days of not watching any New Japan have gone bye-bye, and we are off to the races with a healthy March. An announcement of the Best of the Super Junior schedule got thrown out there. Yeah. We got a whole mess of shows that we're going to be talking about at least for the next 3 months. So why don't you take it underway? Let's get started, my man.
All right, well, let's do that. And while we're here, we have Colin. Hello. I'm glad you're here. Colin Venkin is here. He says, March is coming and it might start with tragedy. No, I hope not. I hope not. But we'll have to see how things turn out. But yeah, I'm glad you guys are with us. I'm glad everybody at home is with us here live. And
is that like a beware the Ides of March kind of thing?
I don't know. That was a strange thing. I'm not sure. Are you aware of any tragedies in New Japan right now?
Just in the world, not really.
Yeah, well, yeah, plenty of those. Plenty of those. You're right.
Like I'm the dog in the room, and everything's on fire, and I'm just like, this is fine.
Yeah. Oh, loser leaves Stardom. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. There's
Cam Nakano, Kaya Kamatani.
Yeah.
Yep. Heard about that today. I figured that might come up at the show, and
they even brought up Utami Hayashishita in that whole thing. It says they're going to. Tam says she's going to send Saya off to be with Utami over at Marigold. That's hardcore. That's hardcore.
That's some trash talk right over there.
All right, so we have Fantasticamania. Now, this tour has been going on all week, and we're just seeing the very tail end of it. So, unfortunately, gone are the days where they would put the house shows of Fantasticamania on NJPW World without commentary, so we could at least see the shows. They decided not to do that now. But we had it today with Japanese commentary. English will be added in later. But I was looking over some of the results from the tour, Jeremy. Nothing terribly consequential, but these shows are mostly for fun more than storyline, long-term storyline. I mean, they throw in some mini angles and stuff like that, but they were getting between 700 and 800 at most of the stops. Aichi, almost 1,600 people, Jeremy, like 1,597 showed up in Aichi for this. So the tour's drawing well, continuing a bit.
So well, it sold out tomorrow.
And it is continuing the momentum we have seen New Japan build over the last couple of months. So, as usual, CMLL sent in a mix of veterans, current stars, and some young guys. And it's a very smart mix. You know, we have the legends, of course. Místico is still a top-level wrestler and a legend. Ultimo Guerrero is, one of the older guys. He still wrestles well, really, especially considering his age. We'll talk about that when we get to his match. And then they have current guys, Mascara Dorada, Volador and his new heel persona. We hadn't seen that yet in Japan. Soberano Jr. is still a relatively new heel. And then we have people like Max Starr and Zelhua. Zelhua, both making their very first international trips, having only begun their careers within the last couple of years. Zelhua is a Ultimo Guerrero trainee, while Max Starr comes from the CMLL factory that seems to churn out these terrific wrestlers. We also saw Atlantis Jr. is on the tour. He's been on the tour for several years now, but we also saw El Hijo de Atlantis. So that could be another son of Atlantis. That's not always necessarily true. For instance, Rey
Might not be
Mysterio.
true, but it sure is billed that way.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Like for instance, Rey Mysterio Jr. is not the son of the original Rey Mysterio; he's the nephew.
Right.
But they called him Rey Mysterio Jr. and things. So, but could be. We don't know. I mean, that's the whole point of these masked wrestlers, right? We don't know. But so new stars come in. We get to see some legends. We get to see some current guys. And then they throw in some mini storylines here. So it seems to have struck a chord, though, because most of the tour drew well.
I have gone into Fantasticamania in the past just being like, whatever, this is what it is. At this point, it's like, bring it on. Let's just have a couple of nights of just these guys flipping around. It feels very inconsequential to the greater New Japan lore. And that needs to be like tacitly understood when you're going into this. This is a festival show and people are having fun, but there's something about, like watching Hiroshi Tanahashi kind of doing this one last time. Like there's little things about it that you just kind of get a kick out of it that you don't realize that you're getting a kick out of it until it actually happens. Like Hiroshi Tanahashi's Kamitachi music, where he's just beatboxing on the way down, and you don't hear it anywhere else. And this happens because of the English music rights. They don't have them. So whatever music they are playing is not playing in there. So they didn't have Hiromu beatboxing his own entrance. They kept it brief this year. Last year it was atrocious. They went like two or 3 minutes. I think he sprinted to the ring. There was 30 seconds, and they were out of there. But, it's a palate cleanser. And we're going into probably a very dramatic shift in what New Japan is while this is going on. So, just kind of get me in the mood, like it's fun wrestling in February.
It did well enough that they had people up in the balconies, the standing room only balconies. Mm-hmm. About 1,457 was the listed attendance for Korakuen today. And again, sometimes they fudge that a little bit, but that felt like a pretty good number, pretty on target number for what I saw anyway there. It did not look like there were many empty seats at all. The balconies had a couple of rows worth of people peeking out over top. So good, strong crowd there. So we will, and I see Venkin and Colin are getting each other up to date on the Stardom stuff. Of course, we talked about Tom Nakano and Saya Kamitani, apparently loser leave Stardom match coming up. So that'll be something to keep an eye on for sure. We'll playing chicken with the contracts, perhaps, Jeremy. That's the key. What might be the key there? Who knows? It would be strange for either one of them to leave the company, though, wouldn't it? I mean, Kamitani having a pretty strong run as a top heel and the World of Stardom champion. Tam is intricately woven into the fabric of Stardom wrestling, and they seem to love her, and she seems to love them. So the idea of either one of them leaving seems very strange to me at the moment. So we'll see what's coming up.
All right, we're going to do it right now. Who is it? Who do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I was stunned.
No, I'm telling you have to pick right now who you think it might be. I'm just saying, like, off of everything that you know about Stardom going on right now.
Okay, based on what I know about Stardom, Kamitani leaves just because the front office of Stardom seems so married to Tam Nakano.
Okay.
That's just, I don't see them pushing Tam out, even over somebody who is starting to hit her stride. I didn't like the Kamitani heel turn at first. I thought she was, I mentioned it before, it was like a teenage girl going through a goth phase. Right. But I think she has honed that character in, and it's a lot more effective than it was a year ago. I'm still not the biggest fan of Kamitani in the ring. She's very good. I don't think she's elite level. And in Stardom, you need to be at elite level to be the world champion. I don't think Kamitani's quite there, but that's subjective. Totally subjective. She's objectively, she is an excellent wrestler. It's just a matter of whether you like her in that main event slot type of thing, and I haven't. But there's no doubt she's dialed in that heel work, and it's better than it was at the beginning of the turn. She just got more reps, right? She learned, she's practiced. But I mean, Tam Nakano, I mean, they Stardom without Tam just feels very odd, and it's
could this be a Tam call?
I don't know. I honestly don't. I honestly have no idea.
You're the Stardom guy over me. Like you, Scott Edwards, when you sit down and you guys talk shop, it's like I'm just gonna sit back and like I got a horse in the race right now.
It's Tam has been rumored to be retiring as long as I've been watching Stardom really regularly. I mean, years, plural. People have said, oh, Tam's about to retire. Tam is about to retire. Maybe she is. Maybe she is. But I also don't see Tam going out and saying, she feels like a goodbye tour type of person more than putting someone over and then just being career over.
I got you.
You know what I mean? That she doesn't feel like the type to do that. She feels like she's probably going to want to have the long goodbye type, to me anyway. So, right. And yeah, Bacon mentions it would be the wildest retirement call ever to just have someone who is an icon and part of that fabric just losing a match and just saying bye-bye everyone, see you never. Unlikely to me. Plus, I mean, her retirement rumors have been going on longer than anyone since Terry Funk. It's been constant for years and years.
I give you a lot of credit for the insight that you have in Stardom, so I'm just going to trust your judgment on that. Because in all honesty, there's a lot of nuance that unless you really dialed into the scene like you and Bacon and Colin and Scott Edwards and a couple of the other individuals that are following it, like it's almost like people like trying to like armchair talk about New Japan if they're not actually watching the stuff all the time. It's exactly the same thing.
And Bankin has a comment here that's right on target. He just said Bushiroad would want to make money out of a Tam retirement or tour. Yeah, absolutely right. I think so. We'll see. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're going to shock us. And Colin mentions the last time he watched a Fantasticamania show, Dolce Gardenia was in it. So that was a few
like
years
2 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Dolce's terrific. He's still back in Mexico, still wrestling regularly, but he is not on this tour.
The one thing I will give them about Fantasticamania is they have 2 shows this year instead of a week of them. And as a result...
On World. They have
on World, right. So, like, you have 2 shows on World, but they have had a week of these events. These 2 shows are lean. You know what I mean? Like, there's no... Like, there were angles and there was, like, stuff with purpose, but the Ryusuke Taguchi Egyptian gimmick, he wasn't there. Like, there were little things about it that it was just like, we are going to present you the stuff that's important and not give you the filler that people are going to like put on social media and say this is a joke kind of show kind of thing. And I don't know. I think that was a smart tactic this year.
Yeah, I'll agree with you. So should we just roll through the show real quick?
Yeah, let's do it.
Began with a tag team match. We had Kamayatachi. That is, of course, Hiromu Takahashi and his old Lucha Libre gimmick from when he was on Excursion. He teamed up with Titan, and they took on Max Star and Zelhua. Again, those are the 2 that are in their very first tour of Japan. And Zelhua had a submission hold I have never seen before. He put it on Titan since Titan knows how to work it. But I don't even know how to describe this thing, Jeremy, but go back and watch it. I've never seen this submission hold in my life. And I've been watching wrestling for a very, very long time. It was very cool looking. And good opener, lots of energy, very quick. It was under 6 minutes. And Titan ended up winning with the double knees on Zelhua just to kind of get the night going in a high energy way.
You felt like the 2 of the only guys I'd never seen before on the show, Max Star and Zelhua, and they're fine. I feel like we're going to see a lot more of them. They could be in the Super Junior Tag League, back to the Super Junior, which got announced midway through the show. They have promise. You know what I mean? Like, they're young, and this was nice to give them some reps. One of the things I wanted to shout out was there's a Reddit user named Effing Kenta that pretty much runs the New Japan Pro Wrestling like Reddit. He's just like the heart and soul of that place. Like, you can't give that guy enough credit. Yeah. But he would do the recaps of the shows that were on air, and every time he would talk about an LIJ guy, he would talk about him as like Kamatachi, parentheses, who's most definitely not Hiromu Takahashi. And he would do that with all the LIJ guys, and I just got a kick out of it every time he would do it.
I know. I still kind of miss Namahage, doggone it. I know he's Desperado still, but it's I miss Namahage for Fantasticamania. But anyway, after this, we had the Revelos Increíbles tag team match. That means people that are teamed together that would normally never team together. This is a thing that CMLL likes to do, quote unquote, do to their wrestlers fairly often, where they will throw a heel and a babyface together and say, try to figure this out and wrestle as a team. It's considered a bit of a challenge in Mexico. It's a regular part of Mexican wrestling booking, where like this company does this to us. Oh crap, we got to go and team with this jerk now. So, but one side got along fairly well, and that was Hechicero and Ninja Mac, and they wrestled Barbaro Cavernario and El Desperado. Now the thing is, Despe, not exactly a pure 100% babyface anyway, right? He likes a little bit of mischief. So Barbaro Cavernario was a good fit for him. And Barbaro Cavernario and Hechicero are, of course, old rivals as well. It's good to see Ninja Mac again. And in the end, Barbaro Cavernario did a little mini angle to set up their special singles match tomorrow. So they'll be on the Friday show. He pulled Hechicero's mask off for the disqualification. And I'll tell you what, if you were good with a pause button, you can get a real good look at what Hechicero looks like.
Oh, yeah. There was a spot there. I was like, oh, you.
Yes. And Venkin had said, can they coexist? And the answer is yes, they both could, as it turns out. This was not one where the teams were fighting each other very much, but it was still a good match. And so they brawled afterwards once Hechicero got his mask back, and or at least they brought out another one. Whatever happened, he got a mask back, and he went and attacked Barbaro. They fought around. Nice little mini angle. I think it was well done. And again, fun match. I'm happy to see Ninja Mac back. I like that Ninja Mac is back the day they set up the tour where they set up Super Juniors. I'm taking that as a promising sign. He might be in it again. I'd like to see him more in Super Juniors, and I'd like to see Ninja Mac basically as part of the division. I think this guy is wonderful for the juniors.
He seemed to be saying he wouldn't come back to Japan, but here we are, and I'm totally fine with it. He was fine. The mini angle was weird, but I liked it, but you had to suspend some disbelief. And this is where like the greater New Japan, it doesn't matter kind of thing, because you had Desperado with his partner unmasking the opponent. And it's like Desperado himself doesn't really give a shit about whether he gets unmasked in a match or not. Like we've seen that before. But Desperado is also clearly being positioned as one of the top baby faces of New Japan Pro Wrestling. So while he's out there just like literally smacking Ninja Mac in the chest and in the face, kind of like manhandling him at ringside, Hechicero and Barbaro Cavernario are doing the angle out there. And it's like, Despy, like, your partner's being a complete asshole right now. Like, what do you do? And they just kind of like shined it off. And you explained it well. Desperado is kind of a mischievous dick at heart. And it looks like Seth Rollins, like, he's a good guy, but he's not really a good guy.
Yeah, exactly. He's a good guy, but he's not a good guy. Yeah, that's exactly, yeah.
And so the whole thing was good. But, like, I was watching the match, and I was like, I hope I go to New Japan like World, right, or New Japan 1972, and I see that there's a Hechicero Cavernario singles match tomorrow, and by God, there was. I'm like, excellent work, gentlemen.
Yeah, they did that real well. Yeah. After that, we had an MLW World Tag Team title match. So this was Cozy Max. That's a team of Satoshi Kojima and Okamura, and they've been the MLW World Tag Team champions for quite a while now. And they faced Los Depredadores. That's Magnus and Ruhido. Now, over the course of the tour, they had a mini tag team tournament. They called it a faction tournament. And Okamura and Kojima were in this, and they lost to these two in the first round of that tournament in a non-title match to set this up. The other team, I believe, was Stigma and Zelhua, and they lost to Bushi and Titan from LIJ. So that happened earlier in the tour. And then in Chiba, I believe on Wednesday. So part of this tour again, they went to Chiba, and then they had the third place match, which was Okamura and Kojima against Zelhua and Stigma, the losers of the first round of matches. And Cozy Max won. And then in the finals, the quote-unquote finals, Magnus and Ruhido lost to Titan and Bushi. But this was set up for Magnus and Ruhido, who defeated the champions, to get a title shot later in the tour. And Magnus and Ruhido, as you now know, if you've watched the show, they're in Volador's heel faction now. And Okamura and Kojima were trying to get revenge for their loss earlier in the tour. And indeed they did. They won with a lariat. I thought that Okamura looked a little bit better than usual in this one. Everyone kind of carried him well. Okamura has never been the greatest out there in the ring, but he is getting older. Mima Shimoda did not take a bump in this one. Okamura's wife and former All Japan women's star, Mima Shimoda. So watch out, Mima, tomorrow. She likes to at least get knocked around a little bit during these tours. Shake a little bit of that ring rust off and enjoy it. But
that comment couldn't be taken out of context.
Well, but I mean, she
No,
almost always
right.
takes a suplex or does something in there, and so she'll probably be involved tomorrow. In the end, though, Kojima won with the lariat. They retained the titles. Magnus and Ruhido, though, were not done for the night.
No, they were not. Totally fine match. Going into it, seeing it was Okamura and Satoshi Kojima, I pretty much tempered my expectation, and my expectations were met. And you covered the meat of what to talk about there.
Okamura is. We've talked about him every year. He's a guy that went off on excursion, never came back, just fell in love with Mexico, fell in love with Lucha Libre, and stayed there, and has been there for many, many years. And he is one of the guys that helps everybody out when they go on excursion to CMLL, helps them get comfortable in Mexican.
He's like what Sumi Sakai is in America in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well said. So just about everybody that goes over there owes Okamura a little bit for showing him around a little bit. Like
and then he ended up doing the Japanese commentary later on in the evening after all said and done, too.
Didn't get to hear him, though. We got the Samurai TV commentary for this show on World there. So, yeah, you're right. They did. That was, but he was with the TV Asahi crew. That's Milano Collection AT and Murata. And the audio.
I did notice I didn't hear Milano Collection while I was listening, but there was a part of me that really wasn't listening to the commentary. I was just watching the match, and I just kind of. What I do when I do the Japanese, and for everybody, there was no English commentary on these. Typically, the Fantasticamania shows are Japanese only when they air. They might go back and
they will
and do it, but just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, that they'll do that in post, and
I am long gone from watching CMLL by the time they do that. I have moved on.
Yeah, and so that's that'll be coming up. We'll have the English commentary on that. But in the meantime, we had the Samurai TV crew also. They were both there. You could see them both at ringside, both announced.
No Clark Connors and Walker really calling the action though.
Yeah, I don't know how they decide what goes with Asahi and what goes with Samurai, and that I'm a little foggy on how all that works.
Maybe because it's CMLL and there's somewhat newsworthiness and people coming over and like that Asahi just kind of gets in on the action on that one.
Well, Asahi's the regular one at Samurai that we don't.
Oh, Samurai, sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I mean, it's confusing.
I get crossed out.
No, I do too. That's it. Up next, we had a Relampago match. Now that's lightning in Spanish. So it's a 10-minute match. It's a sprint match, high-speed match, whatever you want to call it. That is something that is a regular thing also in Mexico. At Arena Mexico, they'll do a Relampago match, a 10-minute time limit singles match. This one was Neon, and Zandokan Jr. We see Zandokan and Yoda Tsuji showing up in Zandokan's corner. Tsuji not on the card as a wrestler, but he turned up in the corner there. Zandokan trying to break through into LIJ. He practically begged to be part of the faction in the past. Unfortunately for him, at the 9-minute and 4-second mark, Neon won that one with an inverted senton called La Especial. It's a pretty cool move if you get a look at it.
So Zandokan's on the ground, and this dude, like you're seeing, like Sami Zayn set up for the Blue Thunder Bomb, where he's in the other corner and he's gonna like run at the opponent, but the guy's on the ground, so he's running at him. He jumps over Zandokan onto the second turnbuckle, and then he jumps up onto the top turnbuckle and does a little flip, so his back lands on him like a cannonball, and then he bounces off and he does it. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
I'm not sure I have either. It's a pretty cool looking move, and he ended up getting the win with that. Tsuji with his arm around Zandokan, bringing him through. So once again, Zandokan falling a little bit short in front of the LIJ crew. So I have a feeling he's not quite ready to join yet. Maybe there'll be another chapter of this tomorrow.
Just, one of these days, Zandokan's gonna find that pirate booty.
He's all in on that. I don't know if you saw the tattoo on Zandokan's right side. It was in here. It was in katakana, and it was bucanero, which is Spanish for pirate. So he's undergone his pirate thing. So, and he has it in Japanese. In katakana, he has pirate there, bucanero down his side. So
I appreciate the commitment. It just made me laugh because I was watching AEW last night, and they had a segment where MJF is getting his AEW tattoo removed.
Shit. Oh, Max.
On TV, and I'm just like, I think about all these guys getting like the Pete Davidson, like getting all his tattoos removed, like the whole deal. I'm just like, I am more confident that Zandokin is committed to this tattoo than those other guys are committed to their tattoos. It just makes me laugh every time somebody gets a tattoo that you might want to rethink.
Have you seen the picture of Pete Davidson without his tattoos? Like one of the funniest comments I saw on that was this is like seeing a snail outside of its shell. It's just weird.
I don't want to make too many jokes because I feel like that guy has gone through a lot of mental health stuff. And
you think?
I can relate, but
you think so? You think maybe a little bit? And that's not to be funny, but yeah, he's
but it's just one of those like one of the things that I really don't want is like massive scrutiny on me or my behavior in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. So anyone in like a business or an ability that cannot fly under the radar for that thing, Godspeed, I wish you luck, because that's not for me.
A troubled man for troubled times. Now, after that, we had an 8-man tag. This was the Black Cat Memorial match. So they had a small ceremony before with a member of Black Cat's family. Of course, we talked a little bit about him last year. And this is a man that has a long Lucha Libre and Japanese history, wrestling history, part of that fabric. So here we had some real big names in this one. We had Hiroshi Tanahashi, Mascara Dorada, Místico, and Stigma. And, you're looking at the number one guy in Mexico is Místico, and really someone who's probably going to go down as among the top draws in Mexico of the 21st century thus far, for sure. Just one of the biggest stars, maybe not on a level of, El Santo or maybe even Higel Dos Santo and some of the others, but he's a big time guy in Mexico, one of the top stars they've had. And Mascara Dorado, who's very clearly being positioned to be the next Místico, and it can probably carry it. Fairly young. Stigma's terrific. Tanahashi, of course, is Tanahashi. That's our president and our legend. They wrestled Averno, Bone Soldier Jr., who is, of course, Taiji Ishimori, Raider, who had the coolest outfit of the night, I thought, that mix of the Mexican and Japanese flags on his gear, and Soberano Jr., who used to be the young baby face on these Fantasticamania tours, now the heel who is stealing kisses from women in the crowd, or ring announcers for that matter. Whoever wants to give him a kiss.
Teasing his abs, like, no, I'm not going to show you my abs.
Yeah, I know. Boy, such a tease. And then we had, anyway, this was one of those matches. There's 8 guys involved. It goes 15 minutes. Everybody gets their stuff in. It's fun to watch. It's fast paced. Stigma ended up winning it with a sunset flip on Raider after Raider missed it.
Tanahashi looked fine.
He did, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, looking healthy.
I was watching him just like, I'm not going to see a whole lot of... I got one more Fantasticamania with Tanahashi in the face paint. That's kind of sad. It's like it starts setting in. You see Tanahashi and you realize, like, oh, just like that photo in this ring. Like, a lot of these guys, like Raider, that might be his first time in the ring with Tanahashi. And
almost certainly, yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, he got this chance before, like, it was all done. Like that, there's a couple guys that's pretty cool for.
Some of those things are going to hit us as we go through the year. I mean, imagine that eventually he's going to have a final match in Osaka. He's going to have a final match in Nagoya. He's going to have a final match at Sumo Hall. All that stuff.
Chicago. They're already booking. They got him booked for a Comic-Con the day after. Him and Gabe Kidd and Zack Sabre Jr. are all doing signings at C2E2 on April 12th after the Windy City Riot in Chicago on April 11th. So good on New Japan for like kind of being able to coordinate that. It's a really great opportunity for people in the tri-state area to go check that out.
Yeah, and Benkin mentioned he's going to have that final match in the USA. That's the Chicago match, isn't it? Isn't that going to be his final
match? And and then the Gabe Kidd, Zack Sabre Jr. and him are all signing the next day. I had an image for it, but the whole imaging system for our program kind of farted, and so I have a couple of random. I have a couple of random images of the cup and whatever, but we're going imageless for the most part today.
Well, I'll give you one thing. My program of the day, ever since I got back from Japan, I've been putting something in the background here. And today it's the 2013 Fantasticamania program, Jeremy. And a couple of things on this. Volador Jr. is still a masked wrestler at this point in this. And we also have Mephisto and La Sombra. So that's Andrade El Idolo, who was on that tour. Euphoria, Dragon Rojo, of course, Mystico, and the old Mascara Dorada. They've had a couple over the years. Roosh is on there. So the Munoz family, still in the good graces of CMLL back then. Won't be seeing that anytime soon. Okamura is there, and Diamante, Titan, all the way back in 2013. Titan was a very young wrestler. I don't know if that was his first one. I don't know if that was his first Fantasticamania, but it was amongst them. So just some little fun stuff there. And Venkin's asking, I wonder if he works Forbidden Door then in the UK. No announcement on that. Yeah, no announcement on that.
I'm pretty sure Tanahashi and Shibata are going at it at Forbidden Door.
It makes sense because they sort of set up, and they can't, politics being what it is, they can't do that in Japan because Shibata's on the probation list on that one. So they can't take the chance with him. So okay. So after that, singles match, Atlantis Jr. and Ultimo Guerrero. And boy, this one was terrific. 15 minutes and 12 seconds. We talk about how you can kind of mark some of these CMLL guys with Fantasticamania. Of course, I see them most weeks because I watch the Friday night shows. But when you see them, you start to get very, very used to them and all that. But when you watch Fantasticamanias, you can kind of mark their improvement. It's because I remember past Atlantis Jr. matches where he was just green as grass, certainly talented, and you could see the athletic talent in him, but was still very, very green. And so it helps me to remember that was only a couple of years ago that this guy was very much a work in progress, and now he's a really good wrestler. You can really see
absolutely. Atlantis Jr. is great. Like every time they put him in a different role within like CMLL or even when he comes over to New Japan, he just kills it every time.
Yeah. And like I said, he was out there with Hijo de Atlantis. Maybe we'll see Del Atlantis. We'll see him perhaps another time. Excellent match. Good drama throughout. Some really good near falls. I'll say this. Ultimo Guerrero is over as hell in Japan.
I have so much to say about this dude.
And, very few have been this good this late in their careers as Guerrero has. And maybe he isn't what he was, and there were some sticky spots in this match, but he's still outstanding. Oh, God. The crowd loves him. He can still wrestle. He has a great sense of timing. And, it's a guy that he's built a little bit like Ishii in that he isn't cut. He's not.
I feel like he looked like Taz in a lot of ways.
But he's stronger than Taz, though. He's a lot stronger. And, he's and some much better wrestler.
Oh yeah, but just has no neck and the frame is like just this stout body and his head just planted right on top like a snowman. But
he's just charismatic as hell, and he works great with him. And afterwards, it was the handshake. Guerrero's not really a heel he's not really a heel in Mexico anymore. Really, he's one of those guys that's been a legend for so long that they cheer him even when he's supposed to be the rudo. And certainly in Japan, they love him. So it's fun to watch. It's a terrific match.
He's just a force of nature within CMLL, and he just comes don't get in his way kind of thing. The thing about him is I can only imagine what it must be like to be someone at this point who's never seen Ultimo Guerrero. And then they come in and they watch a match of his and they're like, who is this guy? Why does he walk around like he has no internal spine in some ways? And then he goes out there and he wrestles in a way that you're like, excuse me, what? What are you doing out there? Everything about him is an outlier. And I love that about him. He's not the typical shape, size, or even luchador, but everything about him is just a delivery.
His mask versus mask match where he lost his hood is on YouTube. You can do a search for it. And if you want to see some emotion in a match, now, the best one ever is, for me anyway, is Villano Tercera and Atlantis. Just an incredibly emotional match in front of a house that was dangerously full in Arena Mexico that I don't know who paid off the fire marshals, but there just a dangerously large crowd in that building. But
hanging from the rafters.
Well, they almost had to be because there weren't room even in the aisles. There were people sitting on the steps. Oh no, it's but Ultimo Guerrero's mask versus mask match. Go back and watch that. It's just such an emotional thing when two established stars meet in mask versus mask. It really gives you an idea of what all that means in the Mexican wrestling culture. And it's pretty. It's something that every wrestling fan I think should experience is watching a big time mask versus mask match, because there really isn't anything else like it. And Ultimo Guerrero had lost his mask in one of the best ways possible there. So it's a thrill. Who was he facing? I believe it was Atlantis that he lost it to, but I can double check that. I believe it was Atlantis that he lost. Atlantis has collected a lot of masks over his 40-year career right there. So
mask hunter.
Volador Jr. and Templario was the last one, and it was Volador Jr. Of course, we mentioned he's turned heel since we saw him last. Last year he was a baby face, and here he is.
He's got a little beard now.
Got a little beard. Facial hair equals evil. And he's good as a heel, though, isn't he, Jeremy? He has this kind of a smirk or a sneer on his face that you just want to smack right off of his head. It works. He just kind of looks like a smartass. And
he carries himself like he's the leader of the bad guys.
Yeah, and he is. And of course, we mentioned that Magnus and Rihito are part of his group. And as this match went on, terrific. Templario is excellent. We know this. He's a member of the United Empire, all that stuff. And this match was good, 17 minutes, 39 seconds. But Templario had a big move on him. I don't know if it was his finisher necessarily, but he had Volador in big trouble. And on a count, suddenly Red Shoes was yanked out of the ring by Magnus. Then he and Rujito jumped in and attacked. They triple teamed Templario, beat the snot out of him, and that allowed Volador Jr. to pin Templario once Red Shoes crawled back in the ring. That led to some microphone work and the special singles match tomorrow. So a mini angle to set up the singles match the next night, and I thought it was effective.
Yeah, what was the special singles match that they announced?
Well, I mean, it's Volador Jr. versus Templario.
Oh, they're running it back. Got it.
Yeah.
Cool. It's a good match to run back because I had fun with this one. And you can tell a two-part story with a match like this and conclude it, trade wins and call it a night.
Yeah. And if we're looking at that match now, and it's we're going to preview that whole card there. But that has let me see here. 1 second, please.
You want to preview it right now?
Well, I'm looking at something here, and I think I might have gotten it's Barbaro Carbonaro and Hechisario was made for tomorrow. Mm-hmm. There is I guess they're not doing that one as a singles match tomorrow. That's just a big feud going on. So they're just they will meet again tomorrow.
Well, they'll run it back in Mexico, but they're going to,
here it is. I'm sorry. Pardon me. It's going to be, it's not a special singles match. I conflated that with the Carbonaro and Hechisario angle. The Volador and Templario angle, they are meeting again tomorrow, but it is Magnus, Rujito, and Volador, so his whole faction, against Templario, Neon, and Desperado. So I would imagine that at that point, Templario will try to get some revenge. Hechisario is pissed because he lost his mask, had his mask ripped off. Templario is mad because he got cheated, so he gets another crack at him, but not in a special singles match, in a trios match. Sorry about the confusion.
No. I was just like, I didn't remember seeing that, but I was like, oh, they're going to run it back? Okay, sure. Like, I just didn't think that they would do the singles match 2 nights in a row. But,
no, they did not.
Like, I also wouldn't have ruled it out, if that makes any sense. Like,
and yes, it was Atlantis that got Ultimo Guerrero's mask. It was Atlantis. One of the many he got over the years. So yeah, Desperado is in there for fun, banking. Yeah, exactly right. Just because it's fun to be around the mischief, isn't it? Hey, if there's going to be a brawl, I want to get in on it. So yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we just go right into what we're going to be watching immediately after this then?
Okay. So tomorrow, let's run down the card at Korakuen Hall tomorrow. And
show, exciting.
The first match, 20-minute time limit, Raider and Max Star. After that, it'll be Ninja Mac. There's Taguchi. Tanahashi and Zelhua on one side. On the other side, I see what's going on. We have Titan, Zandokan Jr., Kamayatachi, and Mascara Kantansu Tomato.
Who is most definitely not Yota Tsuji.
Certainly not. No, they don't even look alike. They have the one has a mask. And the next match is a trios match with Ishimori as Bone Soldier Jr. hiding those abs. And let me tell you something. I saw him in person in the Dome, and those abs are more glorious in person. I'm just going to say it right here.
The light glistens off them with baby oil.
My goodness. Bone Soldier Jr.
I did laugh at the show today with Taiji Ishimori just came out, and it was like Bone Soldier, but there was no mask, there was no nothing. It was just, after all that, it really is just Taiji Ishimori.
Yes, it is. Yeah. And then we will have Bone Soldier Jr., Stigma, and Atlantis Jr. So that's interesting. He's basically in there with mostly the baby faces against Okamura, Kojima, and Ultimo Guerrero. So there you have it. So that's a bit of a mismatch. One of those relevos increíbles match that actually fits the bill. And then we have Desperado, Neon, and Templario against Ruido, Magnus, and Volador Jr. Now that the one side they're calling it relevos increíbles, but that Volador side is a unit, whereas I suppose you have a United Empire guy and a Hantai guy on the other side. I guess that's what they're going to say.
I like that 3-man team, the Magnus, Ruido, and Volador. They kind of remind me of the Shield. I don't know why, but they all feel like they're all ass beaters, but all have something a little bit different to bring to the table. When they're all together, they just kind of they look good. They look right together. So good pairing, good faction work over there.
It'll all end with 3 special singles matches. The first one is Barbaro Cavernario and Hechicero. We talked about how they set that one up. The next one is Mascara Dorada versus Soberano Jr. That should be outstanding. Those are 2 excellent wrestlers.
Nice.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that one at all. This will be a blast. And then it'll end with a MLW World Middleweight title match. So the champion, Mystico, will be defending against Averno. And that's the main event, is an MLW World Middleweight title match.
That'll probably be pretty good, too.
Sure, yeah, absolutely will.
I mean, Mystico and Korakuen Hall is probably going to be pretty motivated to have a good title match.
Yeah, I would think so, too. And so, yeah, there's that. Now, once that show is over with, New Japan takes a little bit of a break for a few days, give you a chance to catch up on your Stardom and your Marigold and your Noah. They're doing their junior tag tournament and all that stuff.
We have, a week?
Yeah, next Thursday, the day we come back, it is the anniversary show. So we will have a grand spanking new, fresh anniversary show to talk about when we reconvene here on the show.
Got 2 shows to talk about next week.
That is right. So let's take a look at that one, because we have a full card, of course, for the anniversary event. And we will be talking about this one next week as well. It'll open, Jeremy, with an open challenge. El Fantasmo, the TV champion, against whoever, just an open challenge. Challenger is in a gray silhouette and a question mark at this point.
I have heard, and cover your ears, people, for the next 30 seconds or more, potentially, if you don't want to hear who this might be. But too much stuff to watch, right? We all
thinking, I'm with you, Bankin. There's a lot of good stuff out there.
All right, cover your ears.
All right, here we go.
I have heard that this is Tom Pestock, Baron Corbin, aka Bishop Dyer, from more than one different area, and it might be one of the big open secret kind of things. I got no problem with this. It makes perfect sense to me. Just a guy to come in and kind of just test the waters kind of thing. So that's who I've heard, and it really makes the most sense. Certainly don't want it to be Carl Anderson, who still has 90 days to go.
Yeah. No, I think that's right. And although I do think we'll probably be seeing Carl as long as Geto is booking. And the reason I say that is there have been stories about Geto talking to people and just pointing at Carl Anderson saying, that's my guy. Like he's a guy that Geto feels like he could, or this was years and years and years ago, and people age out of these things. But at one point, Geto said, that's my utility guy. I can put him in anywhere, and he does a good job for me.
That never title debacle should have corrected every one of that guy's priorities.
Yeah, well, fair enough. Well, I mean, what's he supposed to do when WWE comes back?
Business is business, but
yeah. No, I'm with you.
These companies don't love you back, man.
Venkin mentions March is show after show all the way to Mania. I can be happy if I get a week with nothing. Yeah, well, it's a loaded schedule right now. It just flat out is.
I decided to go to Vegas for Mania. I booked the ticket today.
You're in. Oh, cool.
I got a great deal. I'm going for my flight is $300 back and forth.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I was like, I guess I'm doing this. So
it's pretty good.
Got room and board, paying a minimal amount of money. I am super cheap. Like I am a frugal individual. So this is all up my alley. And I wasn't planning on going. My only trip was going to be saving for Tokyo Dome because these are things I do have to save for. And
sure.
It is not just a cavalier decision for me to go to these things. But I'll probably be recording from Vegas through the Fight Game Media channel, maybe through the F4W stuff. Be a fun little adventure, and we'll figure it out from there. But hopefully there'll be some New Japan action.
Think about this. In case you're wondering if you watched the correct show or not, we have live coverage from the Tokyo Dome. We're going to have live coverage of WrestleMania. I have a feeling we're going to have live coverage from perhaps Best of the Super Juniors, just talking about that, and possibly the Tokyo Dome again next year. So in case you're wondering if we have the pulse on New Japan, you've come to the right place.
I want to know who our live coverage from the Best of the Super Juniors is going to be.
Can't imagine who that might be.
Wow.
Nothing's finalized yet, but nothing's finalized yet.
Wow,
we'll see.
Living the dream over here.
Well, not the entire tour. Not the entire tour.
Hey, if you're able to intersect going to a couple of shows while you happen to be there, and then you fly out while you have to. Sure, great.
Well, we'll talk about that when we talk about the schedule coming up ahead. But let's get to this anniversary show. We mentioned the Open Challenge. After that one, second match will be TMDK, Hartley Jackson, and Ryohei Oiwa taking on Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. Now, where does the Rogue Army land in this whole House of Torture versus War Dogs controversy? Remember, Evil said that the House of Torture is the only true faction of Bullet Club. Where do these guys land on this? I'm actually curious to hear. So
I kind of think Fale and the House of Torture kind of fit. Like I don't,
bit, right? Yeah, but we don't know. He's hardly ever
tortured by Fale when he comes to the show in the first place.
Oh, come on. Well, Fale, of course, most of his time is taken up with his training school in New Zealand. So
Chase Owens should be interesting to see what little stories they have planned for him. He's curious on a very low level to me, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm just kind of curious what their utilization is going to be. I don't think it's going to be much, but I will have an eyebrow raise if he is used more than sparingly.
The third match is a trios match. That's Taka Michinoku, Yuya Uemura back in the ring again. We're happy to see that. And Taichi. So we have three of the Just Four guys against Geto, Taiji Ishimori, and Sanada. So another part about all this is if the War Dogs have been kicked out of Bullet Club, like where does that leave, Geto, Ishimori, and Sanada as well? Questions abound.
Yes, and I don't think we're going to get the answers tonight.
No,
but I think we're going to be getting the answers very, very soon throughout the month of March.
I feel like a couple of. I think we're going to see some seeds planted.
Yes. I know that I sprung on you New Japan Cup talk today because we went through it so much last week.
By the way, Geto gets pinned. Very, very possibly. Either he or Taka, right? Unless they're pulling some shenanigans. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, I sprung a lot of talk on you that we're going to do that today. But, man, you and I talking about it last week just, like, lit into me, and I was like, damn it, I have completely new viewpoints on this. So we're going to get to that. But a lot of the stuff, Chase Owens, and they're just kind of setting up for the Cup as well. Like, there are long-term and short-term things about this anniversary show.
Venkin is asking, can we get coverage from All In Texas in July? Jury's out.
I think Garrett might be going to that.
Yeah, I think some of the Fight Game Media people are going to be here. I don't know. I mean, I know that's like 3.5.
You're in Texas, so you could go, but you're just.
I could. I don't know. I don't know. Jury's out.
If you got Omega versus Okada, you should go.
Ah, crap. I hadn't thought about that. Yeah. You're complicating things here.
But I'm right. That match is happening there, and
shit.
There's going to come a point where you're going to be able to get a ticket for a very low price.
Yeah, I know that's what I keep going around because, it would probably be a nosebleed in that park, and I don't know. I've been
just need to be in the building. Like, I don't mean that to be, you know what I mean?
I've been in stadium shows where I'm not very close, and boy, it's not a very fun experience.
Oh yeah, I was in the nosebleed for Cena versus Rock the first time, and I watched the whole thing.
But you watched the monitors, didn't you?
Yeah, you
didn't
watched the
match,
monitor.
you watched the screen.
But like just being in the building is just like the energy for it is like those moments. Like
if I'm going to be in that building, if I'm going to be in that building, I'd rather be there for a baseball game. But we'll see. Hey, we'll see. We'll see.
I get you.
Okay.
You started something here.
I know, what a mess. But we're doing a lot of traveling here, so maybe it'll work out. Gabe Kidd and Drilla Maloney will face Yoshinobu Kanemaru and Ren Narita. I don't like Kanemaru's chances here. You?
Nope. I think the phrase "gonna get my pound of flesh" seems to apply right here.
After that, we have here's a big question. I think this is interesting that Evil and his crew of House of Torture, the Evil match in the anniversary show, is not against any of the War Dogs at all. It is against LIJ. So it'll be Evil, Yujiro, Sho, and Dick Togo against Hiromu, Shingo, Naito, and Tsuji. So it's the A lineup for LIJ. There's no Bushi here to do the job. And doesn't mean they're not going to lose, but with Dick Togo on the other side, I know, and Yujiro on the other side, unless again there's some sort of angle involved. I don't see much of a chance for House of Torture to come out of that one with a win, but they have been doing a lot of angles lately, and you can always, with House of Torture, you have to throw in the idea that someone's going to get whacked in the head with a wrench or the push-up bar, or there's going to be some sort of garrote involved, and it doesn't necessarily have to be clean, does it?
When it's not the end of the show, you can never count out the idiom, the house always wins.
Yeah, there you have it. After that, we have the two major singles championships on the line. So it is the junior heavyweight title in the semi-main event, El Desperado against Francesco Akira. And this is a match, Jeremy, that I just feel is one of those situations where the result is not particularly important. I think Desperado is almost certainly, I'm like 75, 80% that Desperado is going to retain here. The key is, if Akira is able to hang with him, and I think he will, by the way, if he's able to hang with him and look like he can go 50-50 with El Desperado, he can take the loss and still be elevated going into Super Juniors.
Yeah, I'm with you that I don't think the result matters per se, and it's almost predetermined that, it was all just kind of a change of plans. Doki was supposed to be the guy at this point. And so I think they're going to stick with what they got. Desperado's a great guy to have it. They're going to have a hell of a match. Got no issues with that. The one thing that I will say is that the lack of shows between New Beginnings and now has kind of killed any groundswell of momentum for Akira going into this match. Like, it just feels like a match right now. It's going to be a really good match, but because we haven't watched anything with like Akira and him just kind of going back and forth in these matches. Yeah. And for me, like that chippiness that comes into play with that really helped me get into like the dynamic. We just haven't had that. And they had rapid fire at that New Beginning thing, but that was 2.5 weeks ago. And it's going to be almost a full month between like them actually having an opportunity to do FaceTime. Don't love it, but I understand that that's just the way it works.
And Venkin mentions, so ideally they need to give Akira a good performance against the champion. Yeah, I think that's the victory here for both the company and Akira, a good performance, and they have another guy who is closer to that top level. And we saw this not too long ago with Master Wato, where he just needed to keep up with the big guys, and he would be considered closer to them. I think that's where Akira is. He's been a tag team guy for a long time. I think he's certainly talented enough to be a top contender in singles. It's just up to him to prove it. And this is kind of the match where he can do so, even if he loses.
I will say that Akira losing here might possibly kick off a theme in which United Empire is the first faction to kind of get booted completely from the New Japan Cup. And they're all just kind of looking at each other like, well, we're all just doing great, aren't we? Kind of thing. And so I think they need to get Akira away from TJP, but there's something there where they can kind of like force a divide between the two, because TJP versus Akira is actually a match that they should do, and Akira should win and kind of go that route. And a lot of things going on with the United Empire right now kind of makes me think that that's more of a possibility than ever before.
So, by the way, Colin mentions, I've decided to stop complaining about Goto still being on wrestling shows in 2025. It's clearly happening anyway. Yeah, he does. And at least he does it in service of protecting the main roster guys.
Of the things of hills to die on, that is not a hill that anyone really needs.
I think Colin's done dying on that hill. So I think that's a smart move.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't think he's going anywhere either. You just got to go out there and stretch sometimes. You got to do it. Fernando is here. Hey, Fernando, good to see you. I'm glad you're here.
Hello.
And so that's the anniversary show. And of course, the main event for the World Heavyweight title, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Hirooki Goto. And
I forgot this match was happening.
Yeah, well, again, I'm leaning heavily toward a retention here, probably 80%. I don't see Tanahashi taking the World Heavyweight title right now. It would look a little unseemly for the president to book him, to do that, even if he doesn't necessarily 100% book the company, all that. It's a little unseemly. I don't see Tanahashi cutting Goto off at the knees. It's too much of a feel-good story. I feel Goto's got to get at least a title retention in.
I don't know what the word is on the tip of my tongue, but this match feels almost like ceremonial or kind of like just like an honor match. Like he's not the guy that should be challenging for the title. But it's just one of those, like, we've had so much history, and if I get to make the call and I get to face one last guy before, like, I legitimately have to, I need to prove this to myself that I can beat Tanahashi. Like, there are things that you could do with it, but for the most part, this just kind of feels like, God, I don't want to say like a token match, but like it just, like it's a symbolic match rather than like the match they should be having, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I do think that Goto gets at least one victory in there, one title match win. It would just be odd, and it's not the time. Now, depending on who wins the New Japan Cup, I don't think Goto is any kind of long-term champion here.
No.
But we got the feel-good thing. I think we'll get one, and then we'll see what happens with the cup. And and Benkin mentions losing in the first defense is not a good look. I don't think they would do that to Goto after all this. So keep in mind,
I could see him winning twice and then losing on the third defense.
The only match so far announced for Sakura Genesis, which is just after the cup, it is the winner of Goto and Tanahashi versus the winner of the New Japan Cup. That's the only match there. That's when it will happen. Yeah, that is on the website. That is when the New Japan Cup winner will get a shot at the world title. That'll be.
And then there is a title match the week after for whoever is the winner of that for Windy City Riot.
Yeah.
Because they have announced that the IWGP title will be on the line, but they have made no indication of who, what, where, why, when.
It's also set for Resurgence, right? The title will be at both of the U.S. shows. Yeah, I could surprise people with that one.
There may be a show in the beginning of May. I don't remember what it would be, but they've been doing the thing where they'll have a big show in Japan, and then a week later they'll follow up with the big show in the U.S. And in a lot of ways, they're tied together.
Yeah.
So it's been a good strategy. I'm into it, but maybe we'll be able to figure out who exactly is going to be challenging Goto for Sakura Genesis when I force upon you a new ballot for the New Japan Cup.
And we're going to get to that shortly. What we have here, though, just a reminder, next week we will be talking about that anniversary show. We'll be talking about night 2 of Fantasticamania. Probably talking more about the anniversary show than Fantasticamania, just as that's quite a few days will have passed. And Fantasticamania is less about canon storylines than the anniversary show will be.
And there will be news out of that anniversary show, I have no doubt.
Yeah, and then keep in mind, the next day, so Thursday, anniversary show, Friday, the New Japan Cup starts. So that tour kicks off in earnest right away. We are hitting the ground running next Thursday. It is a rush of New Japan shows going on throughout the rest of March for this New Japan Cup. And I'm ready. I feel like we have had some big gaps in the schedule over the last couple of months. I feel ready for a little bit of a run in the opposite direction, where every day I'm getting up and watching some New Japan. I'm ready to go. And Colin just says, so Finley wins the New Japan Cup and then beats Goto, right?
Nope.
Not necessarily, my friend. Not necessarily, my friend. But we're going to get to all that.
We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shows to watch before next week, and then the week after there will be 5 shows of the New Japan Cup for us to watch on the 7th, on the 8th, on the 9th, on the 11th, and on the 12th.
Holy moly. There you have it. All right. Well, we'll be busy boys. Now, they also announced the schedule for the Super Juniors, Best of the Super Juniors, as it's called. And that is going to be starting up in May, they mentioned. It'll begin May 10th in Chiba. And then touring around day 3 and day 4 will be at Korakuen Hall, May 14th and 15th. That's right in where we might be in Japan. Edion Arena in Osaka. That's going to be a big day. That'll be Thursday, May 22nd. And then the tournament wraps up June 1st at the Ota Ward Gym in Tokyo, Ota Ward Gymnasium. Now,
so the finals are not at Dominion.
Not at Dominion. The final is Sunday, June 1st in Tokyo at Ota Ward Gymnasium. Yeah, so a little bit different. They're not doing the finals then. And like I said, they're hitting Edion Arena number 2. So that's the prefectural gymnasium in that building, but it's the smaller one, the one that has the basketball goals in the background, and it's not the big 5,000 seat arena. That's for big shows, not necessarily a tour show. And then those 2 nights in Korakuen Hall. If I'm in Tokyo during that time, I'll tell you what else is also there, Jeremy. I've been looking at this, and I've been gently, getting my girlfriend ready for when I'm out there, because we are going to go to some shows. I'm not going to go to, like I did it for Wrestle Kingdom or anything like that, where I was just doing nothing but. Yeah. But there are 2 nights at Korakuen Hall, and also the Champion Carnival finals are at Ota Ward Gym in the middle of the month for All Japan. And that's tempting, because then I would have something. This is the nerd in me really coming out. At that point, I will have seen a night of the G1. I will have seen a night of the N1 for Noah. I did that in 2019. I did both of those in 2019. And then I can get the Champion Carnival. So all 3 major singles tournaments under my belt there.
What does she get to do in Japan?
Whatever the hell she wants the rest of the time, Jeremy.
That is exactly the answer.
Whatever the hell she wants.
Anything that
the rest of the time
that she asked for is whatever you want, sweetie.
That's exactly
whatever
correct.
You want.
Exactly correct.
You want to go to Tokyo Disney? Whatever you want.
Under consideration. Also, Team Labs. They have these really cool interactive. There's several of them with different themes, but it's called Team Lab, and they are highly interactive museum type immersive art experiences. And we want to go to a couple, though. That's something she's really had her eye on that we didn't get a chance to do last time. So we will definitely make a bunch of things happen for her. We're also going to an island near Hiroshima. The plans are to go to this island near Hiroshima that is just populated with very highly domesticated deer. And you can just kind of feed the deer and walk up and pet the deer as they populate this island. It's very, very pretty setting and very cuddly, right? Very kawaii.
Yeah, just try it. Just try to avoid deer poop, because you don't realize what it is until you actually see it.
Fair enough. Colin asked, do we know who is in Best of Super Juniors yet? No, we do not have a list of participants.
You can tell that Hiromu Takahashi will be in Best of the Super Juniors if you watch that video package, however.
And a random question from Vankin. I like it, though. Are there days no one is using Korakuen Hall? Because I feel like so many companies take that venue. There are days when no one is using it, but there are more days when people are using it than aren't. Every
blackout
weekend,
days, you could pretty much call it. There are
every weekend is pretty much taken up by at least one show per day, sometimes a matinee and then an evening show. Sometimes during the week, there is nothing going on. Keep in mind, even when there isn't wrestling, sometimes there's martial arts. Sometimes there's small boxing shows that go on in Korakuen. That's what the building was built for in the first place, was the boxing venue for the Olympics in the 1960s. And so it's being used for a lot of things that aren't even wrestling. But yeah, there are a couple of days a week when no one's using Korakuen, but you're exactly right. It's the one building that almost everyone uses. And it is either where you have your big show, if you're a small company, or where you have your small Tokyo shows if you're a big company. So like Noah will go to Korakuen Hall and New Japan will go to Korakuen Hall and build for a show in a larger building like Sumo Hall or Budokan or Oda Ward. All Japan does that as well. They have big shows, like they have Triple Crown title matches in Korakuen as they're trying to rebuild things. But for instance, their Champion Carnival finals, their version of the G1 finals is taking place in Oda Ward Gymnasium, which is an encouraging sign because they feel like maybe the 1,600 you can cram into Korakuen might not be enough now. But Stardom, for instance, has graduated from Korakuen Hall. They have important shows at Korakuen, but their big shows are in bigger buildings. TJPW, their biggest shows of the year are in Korakuen. Some of the other companies, their big shows are in Korakuen. Almost everyone uses it, and on the weekends, it's pretty much booked up with wrestling, and oftentimes Mondays on bank holiday weekends, Fridays, big night there, but sometimes in the middle of the week is the answer to your question, when there might not be somebody renting out Korakuen, but then it might be for a boxing event. It's a very busy event. It's very close to the Suidobashi train station, which is a big one there. It's right next to the Tokyo Dome, which you've heard me talk about 100 times. So it's in a high traffic area. So it's an attractive place to put a show. It's easy to get people in and out, a lot of people in and out. And it's a big entertainment area. You got the dome there. You have Tokyo Dome City Hall. That's more of a concert venue. There's been wrestling there, but so always something going on in that district. And that means that they know how to move people in and out efficiently. And that makes it more attractive for more companies. There you go. Yep. Yeah. And this Monday's Korakuen sold out 7 hours after the Tom Saya match announcement. Wow. How about that? So you see, give them something. The Bushi Road companies warming up. They're getting hot right now. And
it's a big deal match. And so
I'm interested.
I don't know, man. There's something in the air on some of these big matches in Japan right now.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been a good year so far, and it feels like a bunch of companies are heating up over there, and that's encouraging.
I am with you. I'm with you on this. So, what else?
All right, Jeremy, what is this? What is this New Japan Cup thing you're roping me into? What is this?
Well, Chris Samsa, friend of the show, Sport of Pro Wrestling, he has done the New Japan Cup contest because he has seen the renewed interest, and so he has been taking entries. And so I did the whole set this all up ahead of time kind of thing. And I have...
You have a bracket for us?
I have a bracket for us.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We can look at this again and just kind of get the lay of the land. We got that top corner first night of the tournament is Yota Tsuji and Evil and Yuya Uemura and Sonata. The last night of bracket wrestling has 4 matches of the first round. We got Fantasmo and Khan. We got Naito and Newman. We got Tomohiro Ishii and Drill and Maloney. And here comes the theory they doesn't win. He's not winning.
I was going to say Benkin has us pegged because he's already like, here comes the Jeremy theory that Finlay doesn't win,
and that Bolton will get bad luck Fale on the ninth. So all 4 of them.
You are correct, sir.
I talked to Steven after the show. I'm like, he's not winning. I think I've got it. And so, I don't know. Whatever. Like, this is all for fun at the end of the day. Like, if we get it right, we get to brag. If we don't, we never mention it again. It's fantastic.
Okay, but
we give the flower to the person who do get it right. That's how we do it. So, you've got the whole lay of the land right here. So, to kind of take that in, I think the top left corner to me feels the most confident, and then the other 3 are.
Well, let's keep in mind we got a podcast here, so for that, what he's talking about is the quadrant that you feel that your theory is based around the Yota Tsuji Evil quadrant. So in the first round, it'll be Yota Tsuji versus Evil. Winner gets David Finlay. Remember how they do this? We have the first round matches. Each first round match is paired up with someone that has a bye. So David Finlay will face the winner of Evil and Yota Tsuji. On the other one, Yuya Uemura and Sonata. Of course, Sonata turning on Uemura's faction. Winner gets Yoshihashi. And so Yota Tsuji, Evil, and Finlay. Uemura, Sonata, Yoshihashi. You feel like this whole thing is sort of the key that's going to start the engine of this tournament and where New Japan is headed from there. And you don't feel that David Finlay is going to win. And I tell you what, I think you might be right, because I think Evil is kind of there to screw all this up for us.
I believe so. So now that we have the bracket here, Chris Samka has laid this out immensely well. So we're just going to go through and we're going to vote each guy. And as we go, it'll automatically propagate to the next available match.
All right.
So first round, Yota Tsuji versus Evil in the quarterfinals. My man, I got Evil. What do you got?
Yeah, I got Evil through shenanigans, interference, foreign objects, all the above.
He's the global champion. He doesn't need the IWGP championship right now. So we're moving on. We got Evil. David Finlay versus Bai. I think we're going to go with David Finlay on this one.
You feel good about that call?
I feel good about that one. All right. Yuya Uemura versus Sanada. Former stablemates, now bitter enemies. Who do you got, Steven?
I feel like they will sometimes have a guy lose in his first match coming off an injury.
Yes.
That has happened. It's not his first match. He's wrestling at the anniversary show. With that in mind, I think Uemura is going to get a big win here to jumpstart him a little bit. Remember when Hiromu came back from his broken neck, Uemura wasn't injured that severely, thankfully. But when Hiromu came back from his broken neck, he lost for about the first week until he could kind of get in the groove again, that type of thing. But this feels like Uemura, after making the save the way he did, that this is kind of a beginning of a babyface push for Uemura. I think he's going to beat Sanada.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Yuya Uemura is going to go really far in this tournament. I think it's telling that Yuya Uemura is being positioned as the top guy in just 4 guys, whereas Sanada is nowhere near being the top guy in the faction that he has.
Who knows where he is in that one, is there?
And he's also a former world champion. And I think the way that the bracket is lining up, I think it's really interesting that Yuya could potentially get a win over at least one former world champion, the way that they have the block set up. I just think it's interesting. So I'm with you. We're going with Yuya Uemura. Then we have Yoshihashi versus Abai. I'm just going to go ahead and click Yoshihashi there.
And then we have what? Yeah, Evil and David Finlay. So this is one if Evil comes out and does all that stuff where he just says, we are the only true Bullet Club faction, War Dogs are out, and then David Finlay just comes in and beats him, what was the point of all that? To me, this has to be Evil through, again, some kind of shenanigans and frustrating Finlay, whose real I think the story is going to be Finlay comes into this just saying, I am going after that world title. I should have been the New Japan Cup champion last year, but I got hurt and I didn't want to come out of that tournament, and they pulled me out of it because they were scared of me. And this year I'm going to do it. And then Evil is going to screw him over. I think that's the story.
I am with you. I think it's even more than that. I think that there hasn't been anything that Evil has done to David Finlay for David Finlay to be like, why do I even give you any attention? It's like he beat up Gabe Kidd. David Finlay doesn't care. Gabe Kidd can handle that on his own. David Finlay already beat Goto. In his mind, this title, the IWGP title, is his for the taking. Yeah. And if Evil comes in there and completely screws him over and derails him, Finlay will be furious. And then you have the real impetus for the Evil David Finlay House of Torture War Dogs feud, and it feels all right there. And then if you wanted to, you could do a 3-way for the global title at Sakura Genesis, where it's David Finlay versus Evil versus Yota Tsuji, and then you can kick off from there, because you still got Yota Tsuji in there, and Evil, if he beats Yota Tsuji, is probably going to get a global title shot in there in some way, shape, or form. So it's messy, but if Evil wins out over everything, it cleans it up immensely.
And do you mind if I spitball something here real quick?
Yeah,
just kind of just brainstorming. Finlay can lose here, start that feud with Evil. It goes on for a while, maybe even builds all the way to, you still have Sakura Genesis in there. It could go all the way to Dominion if you want to. Eventually, there is some sort of special singles match with Finlay versus Evil squaring off, right? Finally, at a big event. An event, say, with a World Heavyweight title match in the main event of it. That is where Finlay finally dispatches Evil, and then does the New Japan thing where win a special singles match early in the show, you come out at the end and challenge the champion afterwards, and that's how you get there.
It all seems entirely possible. The other thing, Pep, he's a frequent wrestling contributor on the social medias. He mentioned a rumor that he heard that at Forbidden Door they're trying to get a proxy AEW New Japan thing going between Bang Bang Gang and the War Dogs. And with Clark Connors and Gabe Kidd starting to show up in AEW.
The Bang Bang Gang?
You know, Jay White, Juice Robinson.
I know.
I get it, but you know, they might be going back and forth, and they could incorporate other people in there as well. But I've heard rumors of that as well, so that could be something that they're trying to build up and keep these guys strong.
Yeah, maybe so. I eventually Finlay and Jay has to happen.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I don't know. It doesn't feel like the right time. I feel like Finlay has too much other stuff to do.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
And I want that to be the full focus. Like I want that to be a whole thing where Jay White just said Bullet Club's still mine.
Time over a course of months to build up this match, I will be happy with that. But it has to start in like June for August.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they can do.
All right, Evil it is. All right, we got Yuya Uemura versus Yoshihashi. You know, for a second there, I thought they had already done this match, but I forgot it was actually Ryohei Oiwa versus Yoshihashi.
Right.
That they did a few weeks ago. And I don't want to say Yoshihashi is the underdog, but I strongly favor Yuya Uemura in this.
Yeah, I would think so here.
Okay, Evil versus Yuya Uemura.
Now, this is the intriguing one, isn't it? Because because at this point, this was your theory that really clicked with me. And should I let you explain it, or like I get?
No, go for it.
At this stage, Evil has beaten Yota Tsuji, probably hosed him over, right? So now he's beaten the global champion. Something to think about for down the road. He's beaten David Finlay, probably hosed him over. Pissed him off beyond all end, right? Mm-hmm. You're kind of done with Evil in the tournament now. He has moved himself into the feud you want him to put him in. He might even have a global title shot on the horizon if you want to go that direction with him and threaten the idea that he's going to get the global belt. It's kind of mission accomplished in the New Japan Cup for Evil. You can put Uemura over here, can't you?
You can, and it would be a second former world champion that Yuya Uemura would beat in his bracket on the way to challenging if he went to the New Japan Cup.
I think you might be onto something there.
That is a very compelling argument. I'm going with Yuya Uemura.
Right.
Bold call. Now we got a completely different bracket. We're going to start with Ryohei Oiwa and Chase Owens, and this match is on the 8th.
The key to this, though, Jeremy, I'm asking you this. Who gets the winner of this match?
Scott Sabre Jr.
Yeah, that's why I think Chase Owens is going to win this thing. I think this is going to be the one where they yank the rug out from under us. We all want to see Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr., but every single year they tease us with a match we desperately want to see, and some jerkweed that they want to get over as a heel, like a jerkweed like Chase Owens or a jerkweed like somebody from House of Torture or something like that, steals that match away from us. This is screaming out to me to be one of those.
So I think we're going to be disappointed with the next match that we're going to get, and I don't think they're going to do two disappointments in a row.
Oh, they might.
I am leaning towards Ryohei Oiwa in this because I just think that the match that they could introduce after that is something that they will not have a whole lot of opportunities to do otherwise.
Yeah, and you know perhaps, but I'm still thinking that just this.
If you want Chase, we're going Chase, man. You want Chase?
No, this is your ballot. Your ballot. So go ahead with.
No, this is our ballot. This is our ballot. We're
go with Oiwa.
Okay,
go with Oiwa. You like him.
All right. Got Sabre Jr. versus Bai. Got Sabre Jr. Gabe Kidd versus Ren Narita.
Who gets the winner?
Who gets the winner? Taichi.
Okay. So, yeah, for this one, again, I think if we're hardcore putting over the House of Torture thing and making War Dogs the baby faces here, it's Narita with the push-up bar.
I am with you 100%. I think Gabe Kidd does not need to win the New Japan Cup, and I think him losing in the first round, the same way Yota Tsuji loses in the first round, also puts them in a parallel position where neither one of them has won a match since they faced each other, and they continue to lose a match. And then whatever happens there, but I think there's some symmetry between Yota Tsuji and Gabe Kidd. And interestingly enough, the way that this bracket goes down is that Ren, if he were to go all the way to the same level as Evil, he could be in the match right under Evil and Yuya Uemura with whoever he's facing. And then you have a scenario of both House of Torture people on the 15th potentially moving forward, one of them or neither of them. But the way that they have it set up really kind of makes me want to lean as Red Narrative as one of those young guys that they want to emphasize moving forward.
Yeah, they need, if they're going to do War Dogs versus House of Torture, they need to put a lot of heat on House of Torture, because sometimes House of Torture feels like a comedy act. War Dogs never do. So that means the work needs to be getting House of Torture to look like the threat.
Yes, I am with you. So we're going with Ren Narita. I hope we don't upset any of the Gabe Kidd truthers, and I hope we're not wrong. Taichi versus Abai. We're going Taichi on this one.
Okay.
Ryohei Oiwa versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Well, again, I don't think that we're going to get this match, but either way, even if we do, I think Zach wins it and probably shakes his hands afterwards. They put too much work into Zach to job him out quickly. I think Zach is part of what makes a New Japan Cup champion or finalist is you have to go through somebody who is that good of a tournament wrestler. And again, being a good tournament wrestler is part of Zach's New Japan character. So I see him going pretty far in this tournament, even if he doesn't win.
Reestablishing him, Zack Sabre Jr. as the top dog of TMDK is probably a very important thing after he lost the IWGP title. So pitting him against the second guy and then having a definitive win just might be smart for the optics, and that can change one day, but it's a good reminder for now. Either way, if it was Ryohei Oiwa or Cheiko, Zack Sabre Jr. was going to win this match. So we're going with Zack Sabre Jr. Ren Narita versus Taichi. For me, it's Ren Narita. What do you got?
Yeah, I also think so. I think, again, we're setting up this idea that House of Torture could ruin the entire tournament for everyone. And I think that, Taichi just got screwed over by Sonata on the Bullet Club things. And so I think it'll probably be a House of Torture screw job here again. And I know we're saying that a lot. House of Torture is going to screw him. House of Torture is going to screw him. Again, I think we're in this period now where we have to make House of Torture look like the most effective unit possible for when they go up against the War Dogs.
Yep. So we're going to go with it. Ren Narita. Now we're going to the Group 2 final, which is Zack Sabre Jr. versus Ren Narita.
A perfect chance for a person to beat House of Torture. Zach is exactly the kind of guy who can kind of navigate around some of the interference, catch Narita in some sort of impossible to get out of roll up with a bridge out of nowhere that Narita doesn't see coming, get tied up in a knot and get pinned 1, 2, 3, and then Zach slide out under the bottom rope and escape with Togo and Yujiro looking around shocked. That seems like a perfect way to get one of the HOT guys out of the tournament without really crushing them.
These two have history. They feuded over the TV title. They were in the finals of the TV title, and Zack Sabre Jr. won that one. Ren won the TV title off of him a year later at Wrestle Kingdom. And this is their first time that they've met up since then. And it is truly, to me, a pick'em.
Mm-hmm.
There is an argument that there is enough talent in New Japan Pro Wrestling that you do not need any foreigners to be in the Final Four this year, and they could all be the young guys and the new generation, and you can send a message. At the same time, you could also bring it back around and have Zack Sabre Jr. as a guy threatening to win the title again. I don't think anyone really expects Zack Sabre Jr. to challenge for the title again anytime soon, and there's going to have to be a natural point where he is no longer able to, move forward in this tournament. To me, I see Ren Narita being that guy, but I don't want to say for sure that he is, because it's a very, very bold call. So I'm fine with Zack Sabre Jr. being the guy to move forward because I don't have any other foreigners in my mind in any of the other quadrants moving forward. And you can have one, you can have zero, but I don't think we're going to have more than one.
Zach won the G1. He won the world title. He won the Wrestle Kingdom main event. I don't see him going out before the Final Four of the Cup.
Okay. Other side, we have El Phantasmo versus Great Khan.
Well, here's the key, isn't it, Jeremy? Who gets the winner of this one?
Shota Umino.
And that sounds to me like Great Khan's winning this son of a gun.
I'm going to go with you on that one. Shota Umino in the bye. We got Tetsuya Naito versus Callum Newman.
Now, if there's an upset special, this is it, isn't it? Because there's a history with these two squaring off one-on-one. It is not random that these two ended up in the first round against each other. I don't know if I'm ready to pull the trigger on taking Naito out in the first round, but I feel like eventually Callum Newman's going to beat this guy somewhere, somehow.
There will come a time. There will come a place. I don't think this is the time, and I don't think this would be the place.
Okay, so you're going to go with Naito in the first round?
I'm going with Naito with this. And then Jeff Cobb in a bye. Now we get to Great Khan and Shota Umino.
Now keep in mind, they're teasing us with the upset special, which would lead to an all United Empire match in the second round with Cobb and Callum Newman.
There is that. I'm not sure the demand is there for that just yet.
Yeah, I'm with you. Colin mentions, by the way, please don't have Zach do nothing. That would suck. Yeah, I just think they've been working too hard to turn him into a force that I don't think he's going to win the cup, but I think that he's going to be a monster obstacle for whoever does.
Yeah, I just a bullshit loss versus someone like legitimately beating him. Just if that goes out, it's one of those fluke things to me. Like someone's not beating him clean. It's one of those like what the hell kind of thing. And where that happens and when that happens, I don't know. I just don't see him winning.
And Zach doesn't always win his pin scrambles. You know, Sonata used to beat him sometime during those pin scrambles. I watched that happen at the G1 final, or not G1 finals, at the G1 when they had many of those matches where it's clever pin after clever pin after clever pin, and then Zach just ends up on the wrong end of it, and it never really buries Zach. It just is a clever finish. So that's
right.
And yeah, Great Khan and Shota Umino. Of course, this is also a huge feud. The question is, this is going to be our first look at whatever Shota Umino is now. Is he just a young lion in black tights and trunks again? Has Great Khan indeed busted him all the way back to when he and Okan started together? Okamura and Shota. Tomoaki Oka. Tomoaki Oka and Shota Umino. It's a good question, and I will have to see what the new Umino is before I can really pick this one, because it's either Shota being relaunched or it's the story of him just starting all over and losing until he figures it out again. I don't know which it is, and I won't know until he comes down the aisle.
The way that they have done all of this makes me believe that this
Okan won last time.
Yes, Okan won, and then Shota Umino shaved his own head in disgrace. The way that this has all been done, and the fact that we haven't seen or heard anything for Shota Umino, makes me think he is going to come out and he is going to blow right through Great Khan. Great Khan won't know what hit him kind of thing, and I think Shota Umino is actually going to go really, really far in this tournament, and everything, the teardown, and we've had a teardown. We've had a teardown through Wrestle Kingdom, through New to Beginnings. There was a point where I was like, I'm not sure how long this teardown is going to last. I think the teardown is over.
All right. What's next?
All right. Tetsuya Naito versus Jeff Cobb.
If your story is that the United Empire is crumbling, then Naito goes over and everybody just kind of wanders around looking at each other in the United Empire dressing room, like what happened and who is the leader here? Who's in charge? This isn't working type of storyline, which we've been doing for about a year. Like United Empire hasn't been right since Ospreay left, which has been part of their storyline. So I'm leaning toward Naito here. Although Jeff Cobb's going to do a lot of heavy lifting to get Naito through the match, but Jeff Cobb can do a lot of heavy lifting.
Jeff Cobb can do a lot of heavy lifting. I think he's going to be doing a lot of heavy lifting in this match. I think Jeff Cobb is also talking about what his role is going to be in him losing, and I kind of see him having a rough night at the office against Tetsuya Naito, both literally and figuratively. I am leaning towards Tetsuya Naito winning this match.
Okay. I'll tell you what, we are running low on time. So let's get through like our first couple of rounds. And then next week, once we see the anniversary show, maybe we can go through like the final parts of these.
The deadline will probably be done before next week's show, which is kind of why I was doing it here. But we can do this in 5 minutes.
Well, we can talk about what we predict next week.
Okay.
We can write down what we're going to do. Yeah. So anyway, the Group 3 final prediction, Shota Umino, Tetsuya Naito. You think that Umino is being relaunched. So your pick here is Umino?
Yes, sir. Shota Umino.
Okay. All right. Next, now, Group 4, we're into the final quadrant here. So Tomohiro Ishii and Drilla Maloney are in the first round. Who gets the winner, Jeremy?
I'm going to go Drilla Maloney.
Well, but who gets the winner? Who's the second round? Because you have to take that into account when you're predicting.
TJP.
Okay, so yeah, that's fine then. I think Drilla Maloney could get the win over Ishii like he did over Shingo.
Yes, sir. TJP in a bye. We got Bolton Oleg and Bad Luck Fale. I'm not going to talk too much, but I think Bolton Oleg wins this one.
I do too. I don't even think that one's all that tricky. I don't think that one's too tricky. And it's setting up. I mean, which one would you rather see in the second round? Bolton Oleg versus Shingo Takagi or Bad Luck Fale versus Shingo Takagi?
I think we know the answer to that question.
It's
100% Bad Luck Fale and Shingo Takagi.
No, you're just trying to hurt me.
I am trying to hurt you. All right, we got Drilla Maloney versus TJP. I'm going to go Drilla Maloney.
Yeah, going on this, if we're doing the idea that the United Empire has a bad tournament, that would be the way.
Yes, sir. Bolton Oleg versus Shingo Takagi. This is a difficult one.
Shingo just was upset by Drilla Maloney.
Yes.
So I find it hard to believe that they're just going to start jobbing him to all these guys that are mid-card on the way up. So, I think, again, this could be a thing where it's a great match that Oleg loses with Valor could help him.
Mm-hmm. I think there's more than a normal chance of an upset special in this one. Bolton could go because he's one of the young guys that they want to that they could do with an upset, and he'd be in a quadrant. You know, if Ren Narita was in there, I would be bold and do Shota, Ren, Yuya, and Bolton Oleg as 4 young guys challenging for a title, just kind of thematically. But I also like the idea that you need to have a mainstay like Shingo Takagi that can also threaten and go with that. So I'm going to go Shingo Takagi.
Brian Michael Smith is choosing chaos, I got to say, in a different way now than the faction. He just says, no, I agree. Bad Luck Fale is going to win. He said, let's go old and fat for the winner here. That's it. So that would bring us to Drilla Maloney and Shingo Takagi, neither one of which are fat at all. And
running back the new beginnings match in which Drilla Maloney won.
Yeah, and that's where I'm leaning on this one as well, that Shingo Takagi gets his victory back.
All right. We have Yuya Uemura versus Zack Sabre Jr. in the semifinals.
Okay, are we doing the entire tournament here?
Yes,
and
get it done.
So we're blowing up our whole preview next week? Oh God.
We have a lot to talk about next week with the anniversary show and all that.
Maybe. All right. Well, we'll see. But Uemura, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll do this here. Yes. We're going to do this right now, and we'll finish this with the idea that we reserve the right to change our minds based on the anniversary show. So how about that?
Absolutely.
So we'll see.
Absolutely.
Uemura and Zach. So the winner goes to the finals, and this one I'm really torn on because I don't think Zach can or should win will or should win this tournament, because I think there are other people that I don't think that should be the Goto match coming out of this.
No.
So I guess somebody's got to beat him. It might be in the finals, though. So I'm really in a toss-up over this one. That's an awfully strong push for Uemura to beat Zach here.
Got to make up for lost time, baby.
But there's time. There is time. So, boy, I'm leaning towards Zach in the finals here. But, boy, Uemura might. It just depends on how much they're going to get behind Uemura here.
He's my guy. Uemura is my guy to win it all. In all honesty,
Brian Michael Smith says great match, but Zach wins. He thinks via some kind of nasty stretch and then submission. Could be, yeah. I think that could be something like that. Hit whichever button you want. I don't think there's too much of a wrong
I'm
answer.
doing
You're gonna
Yuya
go.
Uemura, and I'm going to watch the world burn.
Yeah, it's your ballot. Final four on the other side. Shota Umino, who you think is getting launched. Keep in mind, I'm not sure he beats Okada, but Umino, and against Shingo there. So, who do you have in mind to face Goto? I guess if you think Shota is being relaunched, then he goes to the finals here. I actually think Goto and Shingo as just a big, tough Tamashi bruiser match for the world title at what would that be, Sakura Genesis. That feels like a pretty good ticket seller to me. I think that's kind of where they're going with it.
They could do Shingo, they could do Shota. I like the idea of Yuya versus Shota Umino in the final, where they're doing like young guy versus young guy. But I can go with either win this one. So if you want to do Shingo, we can do Shingo.
All right. And then what do we have here? We have one of two things. We either have Zack Sabre Jr. versus Shingo Takagi in a rematch of the G1 finals from last year, which could be Shingo getting his win, theoretically getting his win back and finally winning the New Japan Cup, beating the guy that beat him for the G1, which is pretty tasty to me. Or, again, the continued push for Yuya Uemura. I don't think we're getting Uemura versus Goto as the main event of Genesis.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't. I mean, someday Yuya Uemura is going to main event a lot of major shows for New Japan, but he wasn't positioned that way before he got hurt, and I don't see them just launching him in that way when he comes back. He's going to get a good run. He's going to get a good run, but I don't think this is Yuya Uemura's era coming up here. And
he was revelatory in the G1, and then he got injured, and then they made sure that you did not forget about his name while he was gone, with guys like David Finlay, like bringing him up. I think that they have really big plans for him, and I think winning the cup and not winning the title is one of those things where they're going to be doing big stuff with all of those guys, all those next generation guys. I think we're here. I think like the idea that we're looking at these old guys, Hirooki Goto is the old guy, like standard bearer in a lot of these ways. And I think we need to really seriously look at Yota Tsuji, Ren Narita, Shota Umino, Yuya Uemura. Like they're always going to be at the top now. Like it's
you also got to look at who's going to sell tickets in a big building.
I understand, but they have to build these guys, and we are 2-3 years into their build. And we are in the home stretch of making them main eventers. And I think we are underway. And I'm just curious just how committed they are to doing that. And this is truly one of those litmus tests of how committed they are to really like strapping the rocket to the new guys versus like slowly building them and still counting on guys like Shingo Takagi, Hirooki Goto, Tetsuya Naito to really do that.
All right, well, let's get some comments in before we sign off here. Brian Michael Smith says, Shingo is awesome. I don't even care. I think he would beat Zach in the final. And he says, it just feels better with Shingo versus Goto. Venkin, talking about Yuya, says it's a little bit too soon, to be honest. I think I agree there that it's just a little too soon. He also says Shingo winning and then going on to face Goto would be good. I would personally enjoy that matchup. And he also says you guys do a great show for Japan coverage. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We enjoy the hell out of doing it. So when you're having
like episode 153 or 154, we've been doing it for a while.
153, yeah, imagine that. So yeah, all right. Well, thank you guys, and we'll come back next week. We're going to get a look at all this because we'll have, of course, the other Fantasticamania show and the anniversary show. I think is going to give us some clues. I think we're going to see some foreshadowing. For instance, going into that show there at Oda Ward Gymnasium. Plus, it'll be a terrific wrestling show, I think. Goto and Tanahashi, I think, will be all right. Depends on what kind of Tanahashi we get. But the junior match will be terrific. And some of the undercard stuff will be intriguing. We've got to find out where is the Rogue Army on all this stuff. We're going to get the first backstage comments from some of these guys after all this. So I'm curious to hear what they have to say about the whole Bullet Club House of Torture controversy. So with that in mind, we'll be back next week to talk about that. And then we have the New Japan Cup. It's going to be a very busy time. We're glad you're all here. Don't forget, Power Bombshells is going to be Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Mhm.
The Dynamite Show right after Dynamite on Wednesdays. All the stuff in the podcast feed. There's something almost every day on the Fight Game Media Network. And so
I'll be on the Fight Game podcast for F4W tonight doing a New Japan Cup preview with Garrett Gonzalez and John LaRocca. So I'll be plugging this show, and you guys get to be on the ground floor of that.
All right, Brian. Thank you, Brian. I see the maple leaf there. If you're might be Canadian there, perhaps. We appreciate no matter where you're from. And so, with that in mind, thank you to everybody who watched us here live today. Thanks to everybody who listens later as a podcast. We love doing the show for you guys, and we appreciate you very much. And we will be back next week. So, talk to you all again. We will talk to you real soon on Speaking of Strong Style.
Peace out.